I've been very lucky in my career. I started in 1989, so I've been around for a long time. I've been lucky enough to cover 14 Olympic Games. But your story, Olympic experience.
Well, someone who exemplifies the human spirit of the Games.
Tracey has gone viral.
On Saturday evening, Djokovic's legal team uploaded their 35...
I get to experience Beijing in the summer in 2008 and now Beijing in the winter in 2022.
Of all these 14 Olympics, Beijing is the first city to ever host both Olympic Games. What do you think it means for a city to host both?
Well, I think it's incredible. It's obviously historic, and it's one of those things that will never be written out of the history books, because if you do something first, nobody can replace you. So that's incredible, but it also brings a lot of lessons, I suppose, about how the legacy from a Summer Games can then be converted into doing something for the Winter Games, like we see with the transformation of some of the venues. It's really wonderful. One of the phenomenal transformations, of course, is the water cube, which is now the ice cube, and particularly for an Australian. You know, we look back quite fondly at the water cube because we won some gold medals in the swimming, and now it's hosting the curling. And I also caught the fast speed train up to Zhangjiakou the other day, and the venues there again are absolutely spectacular. And the village, you know, the whole setup is phenomenal. And according to all of the athletes who I've been hearing speaking from many different countries, they're pretty unanimous, you know, that the venues are just beautiful. And I've heard no complaints whatsoever. So that's a credit to Beijing.
You've been to China for a lot of times. I recently heard that you have a deeper relation to this country.
Yes, I know. It was a real surprise. So one of the interesting things was, you know, I came and lived here with my husband and my children twice. We lived in Beijing, and we loved it. We really loved it. But a cousin of mine also moved his family, and he was living in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. I have another cousin who married a Chinese doctor and was living in Singapore. So our families kept kind of coming back, you know, to China. And then my cousin in Singapore sent me an email about 3 years ago, and she said, "You won't believe it, we've done the family history, and my grandmother's grandfather came from Fujian province, and he travelled to Australia during the gold rush. Yeah, met an Australian woman there, had those children, and you know, 6 generations later, here I am."
Do you always feel connected to this country, to the cities?
Oh, look, I love being in Beijing. I always loved it when I was here. What I loved was the fact that it's such a vast city. And I remember saying to my husband then, you know, this was back in 2004, that you feel like the world now spins on its axis because of the influence of China. And so since then, it's become even more so. You know, it's very important. It's a very important city. Obviously, it's a very important country as far as the world goes. And so its influence is felt everywhere.
You are the first female journalist to be awarded the Women in Sports Award from the IOC. How do you feel about that?
I feel very humbled. I feel a little bit embarrassed because I don't feel like I should be in the spotlight. But in all honesty, this award really belongs to all of those people who mentored me when I was a young female in sport, and I was the only female in the department that I worked in for ABC in Australia. But they had confidence in me, they taught me a lot. And then of course it belongs also to all of the other females that I've been lucky enough to work with, and then to mentor myself, you know, people like you. Yes. So there are people all around the world, and I think, you know, this award really is shared by all of us because we're all in that position, you know, and all of us have a responsibility to try and make it better for the next generation.
You're one of my mentors at the 2014 Nanjing Youth Olympics. I was very grateful for that experience, for that program from the IOCR reporters. And I I was such a timid little girl. I was afraid to talk to you, but now I can be a reporter and speak in front of cameras, and it's all natural. And a lot of it is because of you've set up such an example for all of us. Do you have something to say to the girls working in this sport journalism, to tell them what do you want to say to them?
Look, I think that's really lovely of you to say, and I remember 2014 in Nanjing, meeting you and the rest of the team, and so I think for other women coming through who might not be there yet, might not have that confidence yet, the most important thing is to think of yourself as everybody else's equal, not to think of yourself as something lesser, you know. And then it comes down to that passion that you must have inside, and it comes down to a lot of hard work. But it's like being an athlete. You know, if you want to win the gold medal, you need to put in as much as you can and as much focus and dedication, and you can get there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.